Hello and welcome to One-on-One Shadowboxing, Have Your Say. And today my guest is Greg Ross. Hi Greg.
How are you, Tibor? Lovely to see you again.
Again. Last year we got probably one or two programs with you.
Yes.
But this time I invited you to tell us about the life of a working class man. How it is really happening in Perth, in Western Australia.
Unless you win lotto, and it's highly unlikely, unless you've perhaps lived a nefarious life and made millions and millions and millions, you really do have to be the epitome of a working class man. And that is work your butt off from 6 in the morning till 5 at night or 6 at night, up in a mine or driving a truck or in a factory if there's any factories left.
Yes, as I heard from my father during the mid-20th century, which was more than 60 years ago,
Yes.
he told me, if you work hard, you will make it. I never heard that again, and today people not even saying that. Or do they?
I think we've all realised the massive lie within that phrase. If you work hard, you'll probably get by. But as soon as any of the governments see that you're getting by, they will immediately raise the cost of utilities or sell the utilities so a private company can make far more money out of you by raising the cost. Or they'll have a look at it and say, the biggest bloody mistake we made in the 20th century was giving free education to the bogans. We should never have done that. So, of course, they raise it so that now we can't afford to put our kids or grandkids through university because we're not needed there. Didn't we understand that? So,
yes, but you know who made universities and education, payable?
Well,
that's the bloody Labour.
Yes, I know. Well, they're not on our side either. And then you can go to the Greens as well, God bless them, who look and say, well, look, we've got to stop that industry, we've got to stop that industry. So the working bloke suddenly, hang on, I'm not allowed to cut any trees down. I'm not allowed to dig any rock out of the ground. That's right, but you'll be far better off because we'll find a job for you tagging birds at the back of the Kimberley. It won't pay any money, you'll be a volunteer, but you are going to feel fulfilled. But if you come back to those of us who are working class, the reality for us is costs are spiralling and spiralling and spiralling. So the only mail you get these days, of course, has got a window in it and you don't want to open it. But even that's changing because Telstra and Synergy say to you, how'd you like to get it in your email so we can stuff up your email day as well? And you look at, I know we run 2 mobile phones at home, we run an internet wireless thing and we have a home phone. Now that's $380 a month before anybody picks up the phone because it tells you you've got 500 free calls, but really you haven't because whenever the free call can only be made to Paraguay at 1 minute past midnight every night of the week except Monday to Friday. So there's all these catches. So the cost of living even for internet. And that's another thing. It's such a trap. All this electronic stuff has taken the money away from other things, that the discretionary spend that people might have spent at the pub has gone because it's going to the telco companies who are ripping us all off like crazy. When we moved into the new place at Woodbridge, which is gentrified Midlands, so I think you'll find that a bogan working class bloke is allowed to go to Woodbridge if he's done good, but they'll call it Midland in case you get too far up yourself. So let us say we're living in Midland. We go there and Telstra's got broadband onto the house. Yes. But it turns out it's only 1.2 megabytes or something comes through the line. So you ring them up and you say, look, I can't...
Where's the broadband?
Yeah, I can't download anything. And what they said to us was, well, we've done no work because the Labor government's putting in this fibre optic system. Therefore, we haven't put anything in that'll keep up because we want to see what's going to happen there. But we can put you on wireless, which will give you 12 gigabytes a thing, but the cost for wireless is 500% dearer than it is for the broadband, but you're stuck with it anyhow. So suddenly they've got another 500% out of you. So the telcos are as clever as anything. And there isn't and hasn't been a government in Australia with the guts
To challenge
to
them.
take them on, you know. and when you've got a very conservative government in, like we've got just about all over Australia at the moment, they don't want to take them on.
So one thing is really clear for the 21st century working class man. Telecommunication is advanced and everyone enjoy it.
Everyone, except when it comes to paying the bill. So little Johnny and little Mary come home from school, and the first really good news they've got for mum and dad, who've just paid out $1,500 for the bloody uniforms, is, Mum and Dad, guess what? We need a tablet. Well, so does Mum. She needs Mogadon, for Christ's sake, because I know what this is going to cost me. So they've got to go and buy a tablet, you know, which is $400 each. So little Johnny is going to school, and his little sister Mary is going to school with $1,000 worth of electronic equipment. You and I were really happy with our new school bags, our little brown leather school bags, that had an exercise book in it and a pencil case. That was amazing.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Now no bastard knows how to write anyhow, because they know how to tap it on a keyboard. So that's how the world has changed. But this electronic thing, when you look at it, we've learnt lots and lots, and we can Google anything we like, but it's cost us so much money. In a way,
but you see, the advantage is not for you necessarily, it's for the people who monitor your life, your kids' life, interfering, recording everything,
yes,
and laughing of you. And you know what? You're paying for it.
Yes, I know. I know. Yeah, yeah.
So that's one aspect of working man's life.
It is.
So how the day starts with a working man? Still wake up somewhere?
I'll take my day working on a mine site. And this is absolutely typical of any worker on a mine site, whether they are the mine manager or down the bottom of the food chain as a road train driver. If your shift starts at 5:30 in the morning, and say you're on day shift, you wake up at 4 a.m.
Yep.
Have a quick shower. By 4:30, you're in the dry mess, which is the kitchen dining room. And you are having your breakfast and also gathering your lunch, putting your lunch together, whatever you want for lunch. And then at 5:15, you go out to catch the bus for the 5 or 10 minute bus run to work. And then at 5:30, you are there starting to work. And if like me, you're a road train driver, you won't stop for 12 hours. You might think it's good to be a male and be a road train driver or a truckie, because it's very easy to get some instant relief, you know. I'm talking in terms of the bladder.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, because otherwise you don't stop. And you effectively might get out for a cup of coffee and back in your truck for a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
And then you finish at 5:30 at night. And then...
So it's 12 hours only. It's not too much, is it?
It's not too much, but then...
21st century, 12 hours. We fight in the 20th century for 8 hours working, 8 hours sleeping, and 8 hours enjoyment.
Let's go to how it really works in terms of wages, because everybody says miners are paid too much money, it's ridiculous, way too much money. The first thing is you're not paid penalty rates. It's an amortised rate, which theoretically takes into account if you were paid penalty rates for Saturday, Sunday. So they come up with a figure that overall is what you would get, which in a way is a reasonably fair system, but not too good for shop assistants, I would say, but reasonably fair for mining people. But the only way it works to be attractive if you were up there for 2 weeks at a time, working 7 days a week, 12-hour days, because then the money is big enough, okay? And then you have your week off. So you say, okay, well, I've worked 2 weeks solid, and now I've got a week off. That week off, you don't get paid.
Clever.
You don't get paid. So a lot of people think you get paid. You're not paid for that, okay? But you need that week off. And the day, your first day off is the day you fly home. Yeah. And you were not paid for that.
And the last day off is going there.
The last day is going back, so you're not paid for that. So it's a little bit of give and take, mostly take, but we're told we're earning lots of money, and we do earn big money. But, well, let's take Twiggy Forrest.
Yes.
God bless him.
Oh,
now, Twiggy's done exceptionally well. And
he's from a great family.
Oh, look, he is for the families, and he is for the working man, and his facilities, as he will tell us, are brilliant. Now, what I'd like to say to Twiggy is, mate, Mate, the people working for you spend 2/3 of their life with your company and only 1/3 with their family. And he does what's called motelling, and that's probably the most evil bloody thing. I think Rio Tinto brought it in.
Yes.
It could be BHP, but all three of them sort of rather love the idea. And that is, you don't have a permanent room. So you can't really put up a picture of your missus and kids or anything like that because you have no permanency.
Oh.
So you're in a room, and it could be any room. You don't know what room you're going to when you come back. Now some people would say, well, shut up and enjoy it. But the room, I mean, Chappelle Corby would have flown into menopause if she'd have the sort of rooms that we have as miners.
Yeah.
No? It's a nothing room. It's a little prison that we live in. So if you want to try and make it your home, and everybody needs their little cave, their little home, you can't. Now, there are really good mining companies, and I happen to work for one who actually give us a permanent room. So we've got our own space, got our own pictures up, you can leave your laptop there. It's really good. We're sort of looked after, even though we're in prison for 2 weeks.
But not with Twiggy.
Not with Twiggy, no. And he's telling everybody that he's looking after people. Now, I'd like to say to Twiggy, why don't you be the first around Christmas time? Now, here's what all the mining companies do. They say, you're on a roster, and if it's Christmas, well, that's just how it is. You work.
Yep.
So I would like to say to all mining companies, but especially Twiggy, because Twiggy tells us he's the one who cares more than anybody. So I would like to say to Twiggy, mate, it's not going to cost you very much to say to everybody, okay, as of the 24th of December,
yeah.
I'm sending all of you home. Then some of you probably don't want to go home. Everybody's home, and you're coming back on the 27th of December. It's minimal time, but it will put families together. Just for 3 days. Put your mind on standby. And everybody will say, can you imagine the shareholders of BHP and Rio Tinto and FMG say, my God, you know, they're going to want me shot. For having said this on television, they'll want me shot. How dare anybody ask for family time?
For Christmas.
Yeah. Well, stop telling us you care about us, because you don't really.
On that note, Greg, we have to go into the short break.
Yes.
But stay with us, because after the break, we're coming back, more discussion, and we're learning more of the life of the 21st century's working man.
Cheers.
No matter what you drive, no matter where your car takes you, there's one place that does it all. At Roof Rack City Wangara, we've got you covered. We're specialists in roof racks for all vehicles, from outback adventure to carrying kayaks, bikes and even solutions for tradies. With the best brands including Opposite Lock, you don't need to go anywhere else. Friendly advice for a 4x4 to your family car. Roof Rack City Wangara has got you covered.
Fremantle Food, Music and Wine Expo, 29th of March. Put it in your diary. 3 stages of live music, cooking demonstrations and wine tastings. That's Fremantle Food, Music and Wine Expo, March 29, Town Hall, King Square, Fremantle. Proudly supported by Pirate 88 FM and Mad Hatter Markets.
The Wikileaks Party will be a one-of-a-kind challenge to the political landscape if you vote in its Senate candidates, Tibor Meszaros and Lucy Nichol. Tibor rescued community television for Perth and Western Australia. Lucy, a journalist, has a track record in giving voice to communities far and wide.
Big Lego bricks for little hands.
When I was little, when I could barely stand on my feet, I did a puzzle and a riddle from my castle in the middle. 'Cause I can do anything. Hey baby, what you gonna do with that choo-choo train?
Big bricks for little hands. Lego Duplo. So many ways to play.
Hello and welcome back to One-on-One Shadowboxing. Have your say. Today, Greg Ross with me, the real working class man of the 21st century, to have his say. So, Greg, safety at the workplace.
Well, they do take it seriously. They all talk about safety for workers. But if a worker does bring it up at some of these mining companies, they'll be fired as soon as possible because
it's a non-issue.
Well, it's only for insurance companies in case something happens, because then they can then produce the paper and say, well, Joe Bloggs, employee number 35752, signed this. And Joe, when he started, actually signed 582 pieces of paper over 12 days of inductions. He's got no idea what he bloody signed. But I don't mean to disparage safety at all. In fact, I'm a safety rep at work. I just mean people to understand that the safety stuff has been put in place because insurance companies have demanded it, not necessarily because the mining companies want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just that the crap will be sued out of them if something happens, you know. So they try to make it safe, but it's not necessarily for the good of the worker, so much as to shut the insurance company up and keep a government inquiry off anybody's back if something happens, you know. So there's a bit of a smile there on most people's faces if you get into it, you know.
Yeah.
I think life is very, very hard these days for the average working stiff, for the blue-collar worker.
Why is that? I mean, how can it be harder than in the 20th century or before?
I think in the 20th century we had more fun. I think life is not as much fun these days. If I take that from pre-9/11, travelling on anywhere on planes, etc., was a lot of fun. It isn't fun any longer.
It's screwed up big time.
Yeah. It's ruined. For whatever reason, it's ruined. It's not fun any longer. Now, I booked a hotel the other day for a week in another country, and they wanted absolutely everything off me, you know, full credit card information, full passport information, stuff that I looked at it and I thought, I don't like this one bit. But you can't get a booking unless you give this information.
Which country was that?
It's our Indonesian friends.
Indonesian friends?
Yeah, Bali, yeah. They wanted absolutely everything.
I mean, in Thailand at least, you can walk in any hotel and you can give whatever false information you want and you can have it.
Of course you can.
I mean, that's whatever information.
Same in Europe, nobody cares. They assume you're with your mistress, you know.
Yeah.
And if you're French, they know you are.
So on that note, Greg, what's happening with the money in the working class man life?
Well, it's going on expenses, but let's face it, once upon a time you got that little brown envelope, didn't you?
Yes.
You opened it up, and there it was, the smell of cash. Quite often it was new notes. You handle it.
I remember.
Now you can't get a job if you don't have a bank account.
That's crazy. That's violation of human rights, because no one can tell me I have to get a bank account. Yes. I can do whatever I like.
Well, they don't tell you that, do they? It's just...
No, they're not even asking me if I want to have my payment, transfer, because they're just transferring it. And the bank makes money on each of the transfers.
You and I have got to pay to get our money out, you know, and this is going to cost you $2.50. Do you wish to carry on? No, I don't. Well, then you stand there with no money, you know. And then big business is really clever, because if it's a Woolworths, it says to you, well, if you come and shop with us, baby, you can use us as a bank and we won't charge you. So you don't pay $2.50. You just pay it on top of your groceries, and then we tell you we've actually given you so much off on your petrol, you are going to love us. So they've got complete control of that. And then they give you a card, you know, a little everyday rewards card.
Yes.
Which means they can email you and say, you haven't bought 10 packets of salmon for the last 7 days, you prick. Where are you? You know, so they know exactly.
And your cat is dying because you know cat food purchased.
So they know your buying patterns. There's somebody somewhere.
Not mine. Not mine. Well, not even my wife knows my buying patterns.
If you look at it, they know exactly what you've bought week in, week out. They know exactly how much fuel you put in your car week in, week out. You know, and speaking of cars,
yes,
mate, there is a bloody conspiracy in Australia.
Is it? Why?
Against the working man. Against
in the 21st century, someone conspiring against the working class.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Unheard.
Mate, in Australia, we have 2 cars. We have Falcons and we have Commodores. That's it. We don't have anything else, nothing else. And it ends in tribal warfare at Bathurst every year. Now, they've looked at us and they've thought, we don't have control of that. We've had police up the top of the mountain. We've tried to control it. We don't. These peasants, these bogans, should never be able to afford these cars anyhow. Never.
Yeah.
So let's go and have a chat
them.
to the manufacturers. The manufacturers said, yeah, well, really, we'd far rather bring in cars built in Thailand for somebody on $2 a day than build them in Victoria or somewhere like that, or South Australia, and have to pay workers superannuation. You know, and how bad are these workers demanding all sorts of money for being laid off? I mean, aren't they grateful for donating jobs to people in other countries? Well, what is wrong with Australians? But let me get back to the fact
of the cars.
They are taking away from us our Falcons and our
Fords.
Commodores. They are taking our chariot races away from us. They're making it so we can never buy them again. And they're ruining part of Australian culture. And I say to those who like AFL, be careful. They'll take that away from you next. You know?
To China, I hope.
To China. Me too. Yes, but that will go as well. So you see this conspiracy to gradually tie us all up.
So explaining it, now I can see it. Yes.
You see, you understand what's actually happening. So I will proudly drive my bogan yellow and black V8 Ford, and I want the rest of working class blokes and women to join me, Sheilas I should say, to join me.
Yeah, but they couldn't because we're stopping producing the cars in here.
Well, we're all going to have time because nobody's going to have any employment. And then we're going to go to retraining, but we're going to have to pay to be retrained.
So, what's the most enjoyable in the working class man's life in the 21st century?
You know, a serious answer to that, I think it will probably never change. What is most enjoyable is having a beer or a wine with your family and your mates, sitting around watching the sport or talking about the sport. I think that is the most enjoyable thing. And I know when I come off for my week off, all I want to do is see family, my grandkids, my partner, and my friends. And that is, in the finish, that's the only important thing in life. Apart from taking our Holdens and Falcons office, that really is the most important thing. But I don't think they even like they, meaning those in control.
You mean politicians?
Politicians, because I think they get in, something happens. You know, they don't really like the fact that the working person does have some leisure time, because they then start talking about productivity. You're not producing enough. You know, you're getting the pay, therefore you've got to produce more, you know. And you look at it from my perspective, you think, well, I've put 215 tonne on the road train. What do they mean? Do they mean put another 30 tonne and spill it all over the road? Do they mean wind it up from 90 k's an hour to 190 k's an hour? What do they mean by more production? You know, because if you're going for more production, then you're probably going to cut corners. And once you start cutting corners, there goes safety. You know, who cares? Just let's raise the production. Now we've got to raise the costs of everything, and you, the workers, have got to pay. And by the way, your job's only going to last another 6 months anyhow, because it's going offshore to Thailand, etc. You know? And our own Premier in West Australia has just gone to Africa. Great, good on him. But he's gone to help them with the mines, etc. over there. Fantastic. So over here we've got companies like Rio Tinto and BHP setting up driverless trucks and all that sort of thing, because if they can get rid of the workers, they make so much more money. So they dig our stuff out of the ground,
yes,
ship it off overseas, and employ as little of us as possible, because we are a pain in the bloody neck. We expect to be paid for our work, you know. So if we can replace it completely with automation, our shareholders will be much happier. And then if we can get out of Australia and get over to Africa, we can repeat the whole process, but we're only going to have to pay $1 an hour. We will be a great company. And oh God, I know that we moved from Melbourne to London, but tax-wise, I think Soweto is looking really good. So we might move the company to there. Where's the benefit for us? Now,
that's a good question, Greg.
Yeah. I
But
don't.
as you are a blue-collar worker, you're asking too many questions, Greg. So on that note, we have to finish now.
Mate.
Thank you for watching us, and don't forget, next week, same time, same channel. One-on-one shadow boxing, have your say.